How to pick a real estate agent. In this episode, we're going to go through, I'm going to share with you how to pick a real estate agent. So stay tuned. We're going to go through it. It's going to be fast. You're going to love it. All right, so how to pick a real estate agent. It's really simple. When I'm going through and I drive by the fourth bus stop with someone's photo on it that's a real estate agent, that's what I go with. Not the first, second, or third, fourth. The fourth bus stop, I think, gosh, when I think of good realtors, I think of bus stops. No, man. All jokiness aside for a second, it is weird that if you're an agent and you're watching this and people sleep on a bench and you're sitting there. I'm just saying. All right, so what I look for, I want to work with someone that's successful at finding buyers. So what do I look at? In listing, whatever, someone that's well networked in the area. So they know buyers, they know sellers, they have a lot of good listings, not just sitting there, but they're executed. Because sometimes someone's got a lot of listings, maybe all their stuff's overpriced. I don't know, maybe they're just telling people what they want to hear. Find out, have they done deals? Because all that means it's no different than if you're working with an investor, you're working with a contractor. How many transactions they've done does kind of count. As long as they've done them right, like they've had the experience, they know what they're doing. You want to make sure you're working with someone that knows what they're doing, that could put together a good contract, button people up, build the excitement, build that hype around your product. Make sure, that potentially they're selling it before it's even listed. So anyways, food for thought, listings, sales, you want to look at those. I would also make sure that if they're selling a $400,000 or $500,000 house and your house is at $1 million, you want to make sure it's appropriate, like they're specializing in that area. You don't want to take someone that's selling houses on one side of the valley and then now you have them traveling over here, totally different demographic. Try to find people that specialize in that specific area. So maybe it's historical homes and you have a listing agent that's all they do is sell historical homes. So you'd want to look at that as well and make sure, all right, let's hire someone that's what they focus in. That's their specialty, is historical homes. I mean, a lot of this stuff may be common sense, but I'm saying it just because a lot of people pick their mom's best friend from high school. And let's face it, Jan is over the hill. Jan doesn't know what she's doing anymore. Make sure that the person doing the deal is current and relevant and doing deals. That's all. Do me a favor, list below, because we all have a real estate agent story. Good or bad, post a story about a real estate agent experience that you had, please. I'm not making fun of you real estate agents. Relax. Could be good or bad. We'll see how it turns out. Relax. A couple of things I like to do also is I like to call real estate agents when interviewing and see how long it takes them to call me back. If they call me back the next day, sorry, not going to work with that agent. I want people that are on it, especially, if they don't, you could be calling on a different property. They could be calling on your property and they're not calling back till the next day. Guess what happened? They bought the other house where the agent answered the phone. So responsiveness. Are they responsive? Do they get back to you quickly? If they don't, keep it moving. Do they work with investors? I ask that because a lot of people are they don't want to put in specific offers. You may want to put in a lower offer than the agent's comfortable with. If they're not comfortable with something like that, you probably got to keep it moving and find a different agent that's not worried about putting in lower offers. So, do they work with investors? Do they understand how that works? It's something to think about. I would ask them also when interviewing, especially for a listing, is do they have a potential buyer? Do they have a buyer in mind? Right? So those are things to think about as well. Because oftentimes if they're well networked, they already know someone that could buy that house. If I back up real quick, if we are specifically speaking about an agent and hiring them to represent your product, make sure that they give you what they think it would sell for, right? You don't want to come up with a number and then you're later trying to justify why you came up with the number. I like for the real estate agent to come up with the number. And then that way they're accountable. They're the ones that came up with the number, not you. So make sure you're letting them come up with that number that you should come on the market at. If it's not the number you're looking for, then maybe you have that discussion. But oftentimes they're going to be in the same ballpark that you are, unless it's totally unrealistic. If you've done your due diligence and you know your market, that's what they're trying to do. Also, your numbers should be fairly close. If their number comes in the same as yours and you like them, great. But here's what happens. If the product doesn't sell, if the house does not sell, then you get to talk to them about it instead of them saying, hey, I only gave that number because that was your number. Well, this is their number, so they could sit there and justify it. Anyways, I also like to flesh out any potential issues with my property ahead of time. Something that maybe the agent's seen prior to me finishing construction. I usually pretty much know who I'm going to hire at that time, and I have them walk the property and tell me what's the detriment to the property, what are my selling attributes, and what's going to keep me from selling right away. What are the potential issues that buyers are going to have with my property? They may bring a couple other agents by and they'll kind of flesh out some of those issues. If they don't do it then, I promise you, when the buyers come by, they'll point out anything wrong with the property, trust me. Once we come up with an agreed upon list price, basically an accountability agreement. Like, I know real estate agents get 3% if they buy, 3% if they sell. I like to pay them all the money. I don't try to say, hey, do my listing for a point. I'm not like that. Get paid your 3%. But if we don't get our number, we're going to start going down as far as the percentage you get. So if we're asking for 500 and you're trying to convince me to take an offer for 450, I don't know if you should be. I'm taking a $50,000 haircut. I feel like you should be taking a point off of your commission as well. Does that make sense? So I do a sliding scale performance with them. So basically, if they don't bring in the property for at or above ask price, then they should probably start getting a haircut as it goes down, if that makes sense. And a side note, as far as that goes, since we're talking about sliding scale pay, I do that with contractors too. I pay them an incentive once we came up with a timeline to finish the project early, and I kick them more money. If they finish late, it costs them money. It cuts both ways. I take care of everybody the same way. A realtor should get paid the same way. They're going to get paid more money if they get above list, but if it's significantly less, they're still getting 3% on, call it 400,000 versus 500,000. It's not a huge difference, but to you it's 100,000. So instead of 3%, maybe it is 1% that they're getting at that point. Anyways, all performance based. I want to make sure that my agent understands I want to do open houses. I want to celebrate the house. How are they going to celebrate this house with me? What are they going to do? Are we getting professional photos? If we're talking about photos with your iPhone, and because it's so nice, it spits out great photos. Sorry, it's not going to cut it. I want professional photos taken by someone that's what they do for a living. Twilight photos are a little bit more. I push for those every single time too. So getting twilight photos is nice because it captures the house at the right time, gives it a little bit distinct look. It's actually more expensive to photo at that time, but it's well worth it. I try to push all of my realtors to do twilight photos. They cry in the beginning, but when they get all those people rushing to it, they're happy just like me. Here's the number one thing about a real estate agent is, do you like working with them? You don't have to love working with them, but do you like working with them, and do you like them as a human being? I mean, at the end of the day, you want to do business with who you like and help them out too. And I mean, you're building a business here. You're building a brand. Whether you realize it or not. So you might as well pick a team that you like and other people like that are professional and that execute. You could all have a lot of fun together in doing so. So I would say, don't just hire anybody. Hire someone that you actually like getting along with, that you could have a real conversation with, and that's going to be flexible on some of the things that we talked about, like commissions and stuff like that. Usually those are the people that are well networked anyways, and they're probably going to bring in their own buyer anyway at the end of the day. So anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I appreciate you guys watching it. Now, don't give those realtors too much heck out there. Be easy on them. But, I mean, realtors do a great job. There's just a lot of realtors right now, just like there's a lot of investors. You want to work with the professionals, find them, flesh them out, work with those guys, keep it moving. They're going to make you a lot of money, allow you to go on and find the next deal and keep crushing it. So anyways, happy investing. Do me a favor. We have, if you need additional help on any of this stuff, any topic about real estate investing, click on the link below. Click for a one-on-one session with myself or one of my partners, and we'll get you going in the right direction. All right? We'll see you soon.